Some pretty incredible news coming out today, November 3rd, 2025, as we are hearing that Americans are in trouble, and we're going to be covering airport waits, SNAP benefits, Social Security, an assortment of different things that are being impacted by. Take a look, the latest headlines coming out. Live feed, government shutdown, live updates as the funding impasse nears record for the longest ever. What to know about the 34-day of government shutdown. We are hearing that we're about to enter into 35 tomorrow, which is going to make it the longest shutdown that we have ever seen. Take a look at this. Houston Airport security wait time hits 3 hours amid this government shutdown. We're also seeing brace for more air travel delays as the government shutdown drags into its second month, experts say. And take a look at this. We're actually hearing that the Trump administration has announced that it will be providing partial November SNAP benefits. So we're hearing that the Trump administration is trying to get some relief to Americans right now in the SNAP benefits and Social Security. Take a look at this. Welch joins a bill that has been introduced to expand Social Security Veterans Affairs benefits. Legislation would increase the benefits by $200 per month for 6 months. This coming out November 3rd today, 2025, as we're hearing Social Security. They're saying the COLA increase is not enough. Senate Democrats propose increasing VA Social Security benefits by $200 a month for the next 6 months. They're predicting that there is going to be some help that is needed. Proposed $200 monthly boost to Social Security is being debated in Congress as we speak. So we're going to be getting to all of the details, the SNAP benefits, the Social Security. Wait till you see the waits at the airport. And we're hearing that we are about to break the record for the longest government shutdown we have ever seen before. And right now, we're seeing, as of today, Republicans and Democrats still blaming each other. We have no end in sight. And we are seeing contingency plans being put into place because we are hearing that America is in trouble and the impacts are about to start rippling through worse than we have ever seen before. So I'm going to dive right in, though. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. As you know, I'm going to cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it. And if you appreciate that, do me a favor before we dive in. I know this is not the news that we want to hear, that the Republicans and Democrats in Congress can't get their act together to get America funded, and millions are being negatively impacted with their food benefits not being available. You're going to see the wait lines that are happening at airports across the nation. There are concerns about Social Security not keeping up. Different parts of the government is currently shut down. You're going to see impacts with the VA. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, and I know nobody likes to hear that Congress can't get their heads out of their rears, but if you appreciate the updates, do me a favor, take a quick second, hit that thumbs up like button for me. Just spreads this out across the YouTube platform so that way more people can get the latest updated information. Now, in addition to that, to stay up to date as more news rolls in, don't forget, take a quick second, hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. Why not? I'll keep you up to speed on everything. And like I said, all of these articles I'm referencing, they're going to be linked in the description below. But I've got a lot of video footage for you today because there's been a lot coming out today, November the 3rd, as they're saying the impacts, it is about to get worse. They're saying that Americans are in trouble and they are trying to put contingency plans in place. So we're going to dive right in. Let's start off with some video footage so that way you can see some of the latest. We'll start off with what is going on with the airports, and then we'll dive into SNAP benefits and Social Security. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Right now, though, I do want to take you out to another story that we are following, all related, of course, to the federal government shutdown. These are some of the lines that you're seeing over in Houston, Texas, at the airport there, where we know nation's airports are taking a hit as a result of the shutdown. Do want to bring in Fox 26 Jade Fleury. She is live at Bush Airport, where those wait times for TSA are really adding up. Jade, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, that's right. Around 6 this morning, Central Time, the TSA wait times here at Bush Airport were about an hour and a half. Now that number has jumped up to 3 hours. So just take a look at these long lines that travelers are having to wait in just to get through TSA and get to their gate. Now, keep in mind that 3-hour wait time that we mentioned is only an estimate. Houston Airport says on their website that the security lines may actually be longer than what's shown on their website. Now, again, these delays are because of a TSA staff staffing shortage caused by the ongoing government shutdown. Right now, only terminals A and E at Bush Intercontinental Airport are currently processing passengers through security. Meanwhile, at Hobby Airport, they're expected to have fewer lanes available. Now, on Friday, the Federal Aviation Administration said that 13,000 air traffic controllers have been working without a paycheck for weeks. Again, this is amid the ongoing government shutdown entering into its second month. Now, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has been warning travelers that they will start to see more flight disruptions the longer the controllers go without a paycheck. Now, with these staffing shortages contributing to the slower operations, some travelers are having to rebook their flights as a result.
So yesterday, United sent no information really, not particularly for the hours of the queues. We saw it on TikTok or whatever people see on social media. We were here in plenty of time. We queued for 5 hours. There wasn't one piece of information. There wasn't one announcement. No one gave water. Somebody fainted. We had medical. The people lining up were absolutely fantastic. There was no complaining. Everyone just got on with it. I felt really sorry for the United staff. I thanked them all for turning up for work, because what else can they do?
Now, whether you're flying out of Houston, Bush, Hobby, or honestly any airport across the country, airport officials are urging people to get to the airport early and leave plenty of time to get through security. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, Jade, thank you so much. Definitely true. And of course, if you are heading to any airport nationwide, they always say leave or try to arrive about 2 hours early. However, at this point, you might need to arrive a little bit earlier. Also, check your flight as they are dealing with record cancellations and delays.
Hey,
there you have it, you guys. Let me know, are you planning on traveling? If so, I've heard that there have been delays just to get through the security check-in of 3 hours, even up to 5 hours, and people are still missing their flights, showing up over 5 hours early. That's what I'm hearing here in Houston, and I've been seeing people posting on social media that they can't make it. It just several hours to even get into the airport. They're having to wait outside. It is really starting to hit right now. Let's take a look at some more video footage.
Happening now, travel misery taking off and likely to get worse as the government shutdown triggers even more flight delays. This was the scene this morning at Bush Intercontinental in Houston. Long lines at security, and this past weekend was the worst for air traffic control staffing since the shutdown began more than a month ago. CNN aviation correspondent Pete Montine is here in the Situation Room with us. You've been looking through, Pete, the FAA operations plans. What will today and the coming days be like?
Well, the FAA just updated the list, and the facility responsible for flights approaching Newark Liberty International Airport is short-staffed today. Also, the center facility responsible for high-altitude flights around New York. Those are the 2 spots of concern so far. But history has shown that things can change pretty fast. It's pretty close to how Friday started, which kicked off the worst weekend for air traffic control staffing shortages since the start of this shutdown 34 days ago. This is what we've been monitoring. It's called the FAA National Airspace Operations Plan. Published every few hours, shows air traffic control facilities with short staffing. And on a normal day, there might be 1 or 2 facilities here. On Friday, this was the list. 46 different facilities. The 3 New York City airports have been especially hard hit, and the FAA says on Friday those facilities saw nearly 80% of controllers call out, and that is what creates the bind. And the FAA says it has no choice in some cases but to slow the pace of flights and put into place delays or ground stops. I want you to listen now to what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said about that.
Well, does it become a flight emergency, a safety issue? No, we will stop traffic. So we're not going to let that happen. I think the real consequence is what kind of rolling delays do you have throughout the system, right? We've seen problems at LA, in Dallas, in DC, Boston, Atlanta. And so I think it's only going to get worse.
Seems like no place is safe right now. In all, this weekend saw more than 16,000 flight delays nationwide. Remember, air traffic controllers still working without pay during this shutdown. That $0 paycheck they received just last Tuesday was insult to injury. And Duffy said on Sunday the White House is looking for what he calls pots of money to get controllers paid again, but he says the rules there are pretty strict. By the way, TSA agents also working without pay. No major surprise on day 34 of the shutdown. There are delays at TSA checkpoints as well. This was the line at George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. At one point, the TSA line there stretched 3 hours long. But the TSA posted this morning that when you consider the wait times nationwide, they average about 5 minutes yesterday for standard screening. They said 2.11 minutes, very exact, for pre-check, and they screened about 2.7 million people nationwide. That's up about 1% when you consider the same time a year ago. The big thing here is these people have to get paid, and this is the human toll of this government shutdown, and it's having a real impact on travelers with Thanksgiving not far off on the horizon.
Yeah, and you were just traveling over the weekend, Wolf, but it was okay for
I
you?
was really lucky. My flight from LAX, Los Angeles, to Washington Reagan National Airport left on time and arrived on time. It was I was just pretty lucky.
It's a bit scattershot, and I hear from people who get hit by the delays and also people who have no problem. So the real thing here is when there's weather in the mix, on top of air traffic control staffing shortages, that can cause the whole deck of cards to come tumbling down.
And we've seen it happen. All right, Pete Montine, thank you so much.
We're joined by Nick Daniels, the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. What are you hearing now as we are looking at what really look like new images, kind of a new situation that we saw this weekend? What are you hearing from air traffic controllers about what the weekend was like?
The amount of stress, the fatigue, the frustration is growing every day. Air traffic controllers are waking up to a headline that says there's no end in sight, and that leads to a level of hopelessness as well. And you know, there's not even as many air traffic controllers that are working today as there was in the 2019 shutdown, where air traffic controllers are working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, and that was already an issue that we were working on, and now every day that this continues, it continues to build, and it continues to put them in a place that is completely unacceptable.
Can you help us visualize what it's like inside of, you know, a tower when there are not enough people?
You start having one person take on multiple tasks where you would normally have that workload divided between controllers. They're going to go to work, they're going to do their job, they're going to keep everyone safe, but you have to start slowing down the number of aircraft that can go through it so one person can handle this level of complexity. This is the most high consequence job in the entire world. You're making 1,000 decisions, you know, in just one rotation to ensure that aircraft move safely in and around the airport or in the sky, and every single time that they have to take on an additional level of responsibility amidst all these other issues is something we have to be concerned about and something we have to manage.
What are the personal financial dilemmas that they're facing right now?
We're not only seeing air traffic controllers already reporting like, I have no money for gas and to be able to get to work. They're over 1 month at this point without a level of compensation for the amazing work that these patriots do day in and day out. But also on top of that, not having child care. We're seeing air traffic controllers for their first time starting to resign. We have trainees that are resigning, and we have certified controllers. And we're getting reports of them resigning over the course of this past week.
You've called for a clean funding bill. That's right?
Yes, it is.
You've called for a clean funding bill. That at this point is the demand of Republicans in the White House as well. You were at the White House roundtable this past week on aviation, travel, and union leaders, and the White House has said they have no intentions to meet with Democrats until the government is reopened. Have you been able to speak to Democratic House and Senate, especially leadership, about what your folks need?
We have, and our message has been consistent from the very beginning. 1 day of a shutdown was too much. Air traffic controllers cannot be used as a political pawn. And I can help everyone know the end of this story. People can't live without money. It's putting us in a position to, for an air traffic controller to have to not only deal with this profession, but then weigh going home and having to have the consequences of being at a home and trying to explain to your family that you're going to go into one of the most demanding jobs in the world and you don't know when you're going to get paid again. Our message is simple. Open the government, and it has to open now. That's the real issue, and that's the only way that this is going to be solved.
You've been through this, time and again, and the threat of it time and again now, right? This is becoming a kind of regular thing, but I don't know that we've ever seen it threaten in recent history. A holiday season, kind of at a critical point in the shutdown, right?
Air traffic, we're worried about that as well.
Talk to us about that. What happens if we get to the Thanksgiving travel rush and the government is still shut down? What does that look like?
There's a lot of things that doing this job for 23 years that I can predict or I could tell you and explain. I have no idea how to explain what it would look like if we get to the holiday rush and we're still dealing with a government shutdown. The number of issues are growing daily. When air traffic controllers can't drive to work already and don't have gas or childcare, and then we're talking about it lasting all the way to the holidays, it's not something I can sit here and tell the flying public, America, in any way, shape, or form of what that would look like.
Would you feel safe flying?
I feel safe because of the hardworking men and women that I represent. They are showing up. And to every single person that shows up each day, each moment, they're the ones shouldering this burden of the shutdown. And it's something that we have to recognize them for, is that they're taking on this when it has nothing to do with them whatsoever. And it's, again, why we're calling this shutdown has to end now. These hardworking Americans need to be paid.
Do you feel safer when they're not dealing with these kinds of issues?
No, every day this continues, this system will be less safe. Tomorrow will be less safe than today. And because of that, and it's our job to communicate for the safety of the flying public, it's why the traffic has to reduce, why things have to slow down, because we cannot put these men and women dealing with this job on top of this prolonged shutdown.
There you have it, you guys. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you going to be traveling this holiday season? They said there's a possibility that this will go into the holiday seasons, Thanksgiving. This is becoming the longest shutdown we have ever seen. As of tomorrow, it will be 35 days, tying for the longest ever. And as you heard them say, Congress, it looks like there's no end in sight. And I got a poll right now in the comment section asking who is the main person at fault right now. I've currently got about 367 votes. 80% of the room says it is the Democrats. 6% say Republicans. 14% say Donald Trump. If you haven't, drop your thoughts in the poll. Who is at most at fault right now? And also, if you haven't done so yet, please take a second, hit the like button. If you appreciate the live stream update, I've got all the sites, the sources cited in the description, so that way you can know everything that's going on. So right now, airports, they're saying beware. It is starting to stack up in major airports, and they're concerned that things are only going to get worse. I saw some of the updates on social media for here in Houston, where they said that just the security check through is taking 3 hours. It's taking several hours just to get into the airport. And they're saying it's bad. They're saying that people are calling in, and those workers, they are not happy. They're not getting paid. Things are rough right now. So we have got some major airport issues going on. And in addition to that, they're saying brace for more to come, that they're expecting it to get worse. Now, we're going to be talking about SNAP and Social Security here as well. Want to get you the latest on that, so that way you know what's going on. And also just wanted to mention for you very quickly, in regards to those benefits that you need and that you depend on, we're hearing that Medicare is going to be taking away some of that Social Security cost of living adjustment increase, which is why I wanted to introduce you guys to my friends over at Chapter, because as you guys know, right now we're projecting to see that Medicare Part B premium rise up from $185 to $206.50. That's an 11% increase, $185 up to $206.50. So you're going to be seeing the impacts for seniors, both on original Medicare as well as Medicare Advantage plans. So on this note, we're also seeing that these plans, many of them might get discontinued as well. So you got to keep an eye on your benefits. Right now, we're hearing that this is going to be impacting in 2026. This means that your current plan, your costs, they're going to be going up. You could lose out on your coverage, or your plan could disappear entirely. That's why I'm telling people to call right now my friends over at Chapter, my Medicare partners. They're the only advisors who compare every plan nationwide to make sure that you're on the plan that best fits your needs. On average, they save my viewers $1,100 a year if they can help you out. In less than 20 minutes, if you give them a call, Chapter can review your options. And if you're already on the best fitting plan for 2026, well then great, you're done. You've got confirmation you're on the best plan for you. But if not, they're here to help you switch before rising costs hit your wallet. No gimmicks, just honest advice from people who know Medicare inside and out. They have already helped thousands of my listeners here on the channel, in my audience. They can help you as well with just a quick phone call to Chapter at, you can see the number on the screen, 984-375-0879. Talk to a trusted advisor right away. So again, thank you to Chapter making that available today. Now, let's talk about the breaking news that just came out less than an hour ago, and that is, let's go ahead and take a look here at this article that came out. Trump administration says that it will provide partial November SNAP benefits coming out today, November the 3rd, 2025. So we're going to get into what is going on with the SNAP. The Trump administration will provide partial food stamp benefits this month as the government shutdown approaches a record length, officials told a federal judge on Monday today. Now it says the administration indicated that it will not tap other funds to fill the gap, meaning that more than 40 million Americans or people enrolled in the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP, they are set to receive reduced benefits. Administration officials have warned those recalculations could spur significant delays before November payments reach your households. On Friday, 2 federal judges ruled the Trump administration must empty a multi-billion-dollar emergency fund before cutting off SNAP. The administration says that the funds has $4.65 billion available for households. It is not enough to cover the full November benefits, which are expected to cost upward of $9 billion. The judges indicated the U.S. Department of Agriculture could use dollars from another funding source to fill the remaining gap for November. The new update indicates that the Trump administration will not do so, calling it an unprecedented, unacceptable risk. Section 32 Child Nutrition Program funds are not a contingency fund for SNAP. Patrick Penn, who oversees the SNAP program at the USDA, wrote in a sworn declaration on Monday. Using billions of dollars from child nutrition for SNAP could leave an unprecedented gap in child nutrition funding that Congress has never had to fill with annual appropriations, and USDA cannot predict what Congress will do under these circumstances, he continued. Now, thank you so much for that super chat, Marine Mom from Texas. I appreciate that a ton. Reading on, it says, Penn said USDA can provide states with the specifics on the reductions later on Monday today, so they can begin calculating each household's new benefit amount. But he warned of disruptions and long delays, suggesting many SNAP recipients will be without benefits for quite some time. For at least some states, USDA understanding is that the system changes states must implement to provide the reduced benefits amounts will take anywhere from a few weeks to up to several months, Penn said. Wow, the SNAP lapse has become one of the most visible signs of the government shutdown as it approaches its 6th week. Democratic-led states, cities, and private groups sued the administration last week as it warned that SNAP benefits would expire in November as shutdown negotiations remained at a stalemate. So again, looks like no end in sight at this time. Reading on, Sky Perriman, president of Democracy Forward Foundation, which represents the cities and the private organizations in the case and is one of the most prolific filers of lawsuits against the administration, said that the group is considering all legal options to secure the full funds. It shouldn't take a court order to force our president to provide essential nutrition that Congress has made clear needs to be provided. But since that is what it takes, we will continue to use the courts to protect the rights of the people, Perriman said in a statement. The Trump administration argued that the SNAP emergency fund is only meant for unforeseen disasters like hurricanes and earthquakes, and it can't be used to mitigate government shutdowns. But U.S. District Judge John McConnell and Indira Talwani, both appointees of former President Obama, rejected the argument in separate rulings on Friday. McConnell has mandated an update by midday Monday today. The administration is still due to provide Talwani an update later in the day. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the updates that have been coming out in the news in the past 24 hours regarding what is currently going on with the SNAP benefits. As we're hearing, there are they're not going out. They're trying to get half of it out. There are delays and issues even if it does go out. So right now we're feeling the impacts, and as I mentioned, tomorrow we tie the record for the longest shutdown in U.S. history. So you are seeing history unfold, and we're hearing Americans are in trouble. We are now starting to feel the impacts of this shutdown. Let's go ahead and take a look at some video footage so you can see it for yourself.
That's where we begin our look at today's top stories. In an exclusive interview with 60 Minutes, Norah O'Donnell asked the president about his call to end the filibuster, and Mr. Trump doubled down.
But you know what? The Republicans have to get tougher. If we end the filibuster, we can do exactly what we want. We're not going to lose power. The theory is, then we'll do it. But then when they get into power someday, they'll do it. That's true. But you know what?
So you think
we're here right now.
Food assistance funding is supposed to be distributed today, despite the White House saying it actually would not because of the government shutdown. You see, 2 federal judges ruled Friday the Trump administration has to dip into a contingency fund to make this happen. In a social media post, the president said he asked his lawyers to get clarification from the court about how to legally fund SNAP benefits. And the transportation secretary says the shutdown's impact on the nation's airports is going to get worse. On Face the Nation, Sean Duffy said the government will stop air traffic to avoid safety issues. And new CBS News polling shows more Americans are feeling uneasy about the shutdown's economic impact. 54% of Americans say they're very concerned, which, as you see on your screen, is up from 49% early last month. And more people are souring on the politicians involved as well. President Trump, Democrats, and Republicans in Congress have all seen people's disapproval of their handling of the shutdown rise since October. CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes brings us more on the shutdown from the White House now. Good morning, Nancy. The Trump administration faces this deadline today over benefits. There's a back and forth. So where do things stand at this moment?
Well, here's where things stand, Errol. There are not one but 2 federal courts who have said just in the past couple of days that the administration has to make these payments and that it has to use contingency funds in order to do it so that there is no lapse in the SNAP benefits that go to 42 million households in this country. On Friday, President Trump said he wasn't so sure and that his lawyers weren't that sure that they could simply pay these benefits out in a shutdown. The court said, oh, no, you can, and you need to do it right away. So yesterday, on a couple of the Sunday shows, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that they are going to try to do it, that it could happen by Wednesday. He wasn't definitive, but he said that the president doesn't want these benefits to lapse, and Democrats say they don't want them to lapse either. But nevertheless, there are millions of Americans who are worried that they are going to lose out on these benefits, at least temporarily. And for people like Rebecca Hall, who we spoke to, has 5 kids and who relies on that monthly check, this is a big worry. Take a listen.
I said, wow, this is really happening in America. For people like me that pay PS&G, pay rent, transportation, stuff that the kids need, now you're going to have to pick and choose.
And so just like we've talked about with government workers, Errol, who, some of them can't miss even a single paycheck without getting into some serious financial trouble, there are a lot of parents out there who say even one missed SNAP check puts them into the red as well.
Yeah.
There you have it, you guys. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And you heard Trump there talking about ending the filibuster. Should we end the filibuster so we don't have these issues in the Senate any longer? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts. As you know right now, in order to pass legislation through the Senate, they need to get 60 votes. The problem is typically we've got roughly around half and half, Republicans and Democrats. Right now, Republicans hold the majority just ever so slightly, and it's hard to get that 60, to get those 10 extra spots past that 50 point. And so right now we are stuck. Should we get rid of the filibuster? Put in the comments yes or no. Let me know your thoughts. But right now, I've also got a poll in the chat asking who is to blame right now, most at fault. Is it the Democrats trying to pin this on the Republicans because they're in charge? Is it the Republicans not all getting on board to get this done? Or is it Donald Trump? Let me know also in the poll who you think is to blame. And take a look, this coming out today, 5 hours ago from Congress, from Capitol Hill. Take a look. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson on the government shutdown as we are entering into historic levels right now, as we're seeing that the shutdown has entered day 34 and the impacts are getting real. Let's take a look.
Officially the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And we wanted to just have a simple exercise with you this morning to go through just a couple of important facts. There is such a staggering amount of gaslighting and false information that Democrats are engaging in right now. And so we thought it would be useful to just this morning, in a very brief and concise manner, separate fact from fiction. So I'm just going to go through 4 false claims that you have heard over and over and over, and just explain once more what the simple truth is. Meredith, let me see the first slide here. Here's the first one. The obviously false claim of the Democrats is that Republicans have closed the government. I've heard them say this myself. You've all seen it in interviews. They're blaming the shutdown on the Republicans, and it is patently absurd. The next slide will show you the simple fact, the obvious fact that everyone can see. It is Republicans who have voted to open the government 14 times. Now remember how this came about. Back in September 19th in the House, Republicans in the House voted to open the government.
If you own NVIDIA, this could be the most important video you will ever watch, because while millions of
the clean continuing resolution to keep everything in operation, every Democrat except one in the House voted to close the government. But we still passed it because we have the majority. And so we sent that bill over to the Senate. And 13 different occasions, 13 times, the Democrats have voted to close the government. Republicans voted yes every time to open it. Republicans in the Senate and the House voted to keep the lights on, to pay service members and our troops who are in harm's way, Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic controllers, all federal workers. They voted to ensure that women, infants, and children nutrition programs continue and that SNAP benefits continue to go to the American families who are in need. But by contrast, the Democrats have voted no every single time. And what is outrageous to us is that they have gone onto the Senate floor. Senate Democrats, they have voted no. They have voted to close the government. And then they have gone out to the hall, to the nearest camera they can find, and they have looked into the lens and said, Republicans are shutting down the government. It makes no sense. It's the most extreme example of gaslighting in the history of American politics. And many in the media have allowed them to get away with that. It's shameful. Let me show you another obviously false claim. Obviously false claim number 2 of the Democrats is that Republicans are being unreasonable. Well, here's the fact. Let me see the next one. The fact is very simple. Republicans are refusing to accept the Democrats' outrageous demands. Now, why do we say that? Now, remember, the Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government. And we could do that today. If they would pass that today, with 0 strings attached, everything would be flowing again and the government would work. Importantly, remember that we offered that CR in good faith. And why do we say that? Because it was offered after a bipartisan, bicameral negotiation between both chambers. Because you see, you had the appropriators, Republican and Democrat appropriators, who got together and decided they agreed on the need for a short-term CR so that they could continue their negotiations on the full-year funding bills. But this is something Democrats have spoken passionately about and acted upon many times in the past. We've recounted here every day. 13 different occasions in the Biden administration, they passed continuing resolutions. They did it most recently in March of this year when Chuck Schumer, 10 Senate Democrats, including the leader, Schumer, voted for the CR and told us how important that was. The CR that's on the table right now and has been sitting there for 45 days is nearly identical to the one that they voted on in March. But shockingly, this is the big thing. In addition to their refusal to support the CR and reopen the government, the Democrats have had the audacity to also demand something new. They demanded $1.5 trillion with a T in new spending obligations in exchange for the simple funding resolution. They filed on paper in the Senate record back in September, and it still sits there as their counterproposal. They would spend $1.5 trillion of your taxpayer funds. Included in that is nearly $200 billion of taxpayer funds that they want to use to restore free health benefits to illegal aliens. They want to spend billions in wasteful left-wing spending projects in foreign countries on things like LGBTQ plus awareness in the Horn of Africa, all sorts of things. I could give you a long list, and we've said it here before. They want to spend $500 million to prop up left-leaning news organizations. And shockingly, in that same proposal, as their ransom for reopening the government, they want to cut $50 billion from the Rural Hospital Fund that the Republicans just got signed into law on July 4th. That is the bill that they filed that shut down the government. And every American can see that for themselves. So their claim about Republicans being responsible is laughable. Let me go to the third one. False claim number 3, Democrats are fighting for health care. You've heard this over and over and over. Let me say something very simply about this false claim. It is the Democrats who created Obamacare. It is the Democrats who did that without any Republican votes. It's the Democrats who, by extension, have cost the American taxpayers and people who have health insurance have made their costs skyrocket. It is their policies that made that happen. And so instead of reforming it, the Democrats don't reform Obamacare. They want to subsidize it. They want to spend more taxpayer dollars. That, by the way, goes mostly to insurance companies, which makes the cost rise further. That's the Democrats' plan. When they passed Obamacare in 2010, they called it the Affordable Care Act. We know the truth is exactly the opposite. By some estimates, premiums have risen 60% in many categories since they passed that bill into law. Now, the fact is the opposite. Republicans are the ones fighting to save health care. Why? It's not just talking points to us. We do this. We have ideas, and we have already implemented ideas and measures to reduce costs, increase access and quality, and eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, why do we say it's not just a talking point? Why do we say the Republican Party is the only one advancing common sense reform solutions? Because we've proven it.
What if you could run away and join the circus just for a day? Join the arts for
We did that in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut. We took a look at Medicaid, and we took on that challenge. We took action to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. We got illegal aliens off the program, and we saved $185 billion just to start. We got millions of ineligible enrollees off the program, and it preserved it. It strengthened Medicaid for the people who rely upon it, which is the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, as we always use as an example. No, it's not about health care. That is a false claim, and everybody knows it. Everyone in America, and certainly everybody in this room, understands that this is about something else. That what this is about fear. The Schumer shutdown was never about health care. That's a distraction. It's a red herring, as we used to say in debate club. Okay? This is about fear. And what is the fear? The resolution on the COVID-era Obamacare subsidy issue was always going to be slated for debate in October, November, and December. Everybody knows that, and every Democrat knows that. It's an issue that's too complex to be solved on a short-term funding measure like a CR. They know that very well. This is about fear. Everybody in the country is watching the elections that will happen tomorrow. You got big elections in New Jersey and Virginia, the governor's races and attorney general's races, etc. But all the attention is focused primarily on New York City. Why? Because the fear that Mamdani and all that he represents will be risen to power, that he'll be elected the mayor of America's largest city, the once cradle of capitalism, that we're going to have a Marxist, a communist running the largest city. Now this terrifies the establishment old guard Democrats in Washington. And the leaders of both chambers are among those most terrified. They're both from New York. Leader Hakeem Jeffries is the Democrat in the House, and Leader Schumer in the Senate. They're both from New York, and they're terrified. You've watched their actions carefully. Many of you have not reported on it enough. Poor Hakeem Jeffries had to finally, he was forced to endorse Mamdani. And he's terrified that he now owns the results of that. Chuck Schumer's been dancing around the issue, but he knows he's darned if he does, darned if he doesn't. They're both terrified, and so that is the fear. This is a fact, and you should print it this way. The Schumer and Jeffries and their colleagues fear political retribution from the far-left activists in their party more than they fear the consequences of keeping the government closed for weeks on end.
Wow, there you have it, you guys. Now, that was the Senate Majority Leader, Mike Johnson. And let me know your thoughts. I've got the poll right now in the chat. It's been up. We got about 1,500 votes. 77% of the room is saying the Democrats are at fault. In fact, he's calling this Schumer's shutdown, saying the Democrats are the ones that are dragging this out. Let me know. Do you agree with Mike Schumer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I got the poll going on. 77% of the room is saying the Democrats are at fault for what is going on right now. 8% of the room is saying it's the Republicans. 15% are saying it is Donald Trump. Man, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who is at fault for this? And there are a lot of impacts that are happening right now. Now we're going to be taking a look at some more of this as well here, as we're hearing that this is going to continue on. Millions upon tens of millions of Americans are going to be impacted, and also there's stuff coming up for Social Security and the VA as well. Let me know in the comments, do you collect Social Security? If so, put yes. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts. Hit the like button. Let's take a look at some more video footage coming out on this as well.
Day 34 of the government shutdown, and for the first time in its 60-year history, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, officially running out of funding over the weekend. The federal program, a lifeline, helping put food on the table for some 42 million Americans, like Heather Ann Folta, a single mom of 4.
I'm working 10, 11-hour days, sometimes 6 days a week. And that's just to meet like bill requirements. So the fact that my food budget is gone is seriously disheartening.
But this morning, a federal judge now ordering the Trump administration to move money around to keep SNAP afloat and make full payments by later today or partial payments by Wednesday. Writing the Department of Agriculture's emergency funds, which the administration argued it couldn't legally distribute, must be used now because of the shutdown. But the judge acknowledging that money won't cover the entire food program for the month of November. The administration insisting the quickest way to start money flowing to critical food assistance is to reopen the government.
The best way for SNAP benefits to get paid is for Democrats, 5 Democrats, to cross the aisle and reopen the government.
But Democrats holding firm, demanding Republicans first negotiate on expiring Obamacare tax credits to prevent premiums for more than 20 million Americans from skyrocketing.
It's very unfortunate that Donald Trump and Republicans have decided to weaponize hunger and withhold SNAP benefits, but somehow they can't find money to make sure that Americans don't go hungry.
And SNAP isn't the only critical federal program on the line here. Head Start, which serves tens of thousands of the nation's most vulnerable preschoolers with free education, nutrition, and other services, missed grant funding that was supposed to go out on Saturday, too. Dozens of Head Start centers already starting to close their doors.
As the government shutdown shows no signs of letting up, a federal judge is giving the administration until tomorrow to explain how it plans to temporarily fund SNAP so that 42 million Americans don't go hungry. Our next guest says that despite what Democrats say, the USDA cannot be used as a contingency fund. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins joins us now. Brooke, so great to have you on. I know you're somebody who cares very deeply about families and children. I know you want them to get those benefits. Explain why this judge, in your estimation, is not correct in his orders.
Well, first of all, Rachel, it's so good to be on, and happy Sunday to everyone. Certainly, I was raised by a single mom in a small town. We talk about this quite a bit. The president has been wholly focused on, in spite of the reprehensible behavior of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, and shutting the government down and working to pay the military, working to keep the farmers and the farm service agencies open. We've been duct taping, I've been saying duct taping and bubble gumming WIC and SNAP, which are the vulnerable populations food programs, now for more than a month. The judge came down just last week, I think Friday afternoon actually, and said that in fact we do need to use it's a smaller contingency fund. It won't even cover about half of what November would cost. So we are working and looking at all angles right now. The president has been very clear. He wants us to do everything we can to make sure that we can keep these benefits going. So that's what we're doing right now and over the weekend, especially for our most vulnerable populations, as the Democrats keep shutting things down. It's just crazy.
Yeah, you expect them to get a little bit of pressure. I mean, just Hakeem Jeffries' district alone, 43% of households in his district are dependent on SNAP, and he's the one blocking SNAP from moving forward. I want you to look at some of these numbers. 42 million Americans are on SNAP, so that's 1 in 8. 73% of SNAP households are at or below poverty level. 79% of SNAP households include children or seniors or disabled people. And the average household benefit is about $332. Also, Brooke, you've said this before, and I think it's really interesting. You said some of the silver lining is we're getting to look a little bit behind the SNAP program. So we know that 20% of illegals are on SNAP and that 59% of households headed by illegals use SNAP or some other multiple welfare programs. Talk to us about that as well.
Well, a couple of things. There's been a lot of miscommunication out there on the program. But this is one of the first things we did when I walked in the day one of USDA, February 13th, is we sent letters to every governor in America being very clear that no illegal aliens can use SNAP. 0, 0, 0. We asked every state for the first time in history, and this was in February, to send us their data and let us, with DOJ and a war room, actually start going through this data to better understand how this explosion of SNAP benefits happened under Joe Biden. We increased almost 40% on this program in just a couple of years under the Biden administration. Of course, we know they were trying to buy the election, but that's a conversation for another time. And since we have asked for that data, 29 states have complied. Of course, almost all the red states, a couple of couple blue states too. But in that data, and I haven't talked about this yet publicly, in that data we've studied about $100 billion in spend. We have found thousands and thousands of illegal use of the EBT card. We have been moving people off of SNAP. We've got almost 700,000 people, I think, we've moved off just since the president took office. We've arrested about 118 people. So this has been ongoing. But Rachel, to your point, what this conversation has allowed is a national spotlight on a broken and corrupt program. We found one guy in 6 different states getting a benefit. We found about 5,000 people that are dead who are still getting benefits. It is time to drastically reform this program so that we can make sure that those who are truly needy, truly vulnerable, are getting what they need, and the rest of the corruption goes away and we can serve the American taxpayer. So we want to, number one, most important, get the government open, make sure the people that really need this money are going to get it. But guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. His name is Donald Trump, and this program will be reformed. We will hold people accountable, and we will be able to help those who really need it.
Wow, there you have it, you guys. And if you appreciate Donald Trump and all the efforts that he's been making and what's going on right now in Congress, do me a favor, take a quick second, drop a 47 in the comments for support for the Trump administration and what it is they're doing. As she said, there's a new sheriff in town. Now, if you don't and you think that this is his fault or the Republicans, put no in the comments. But if you like what Trump is doing, drop a 47 in the comments. But right now, we're getting warnings that things are melting down in the United States, as this is day 34 today, November 3rd, 2025. Tomorrow, it's going to tie for the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. And if it goes beyond that, this will officially become the longest of all time. And that is why we are seeing all the issues that we are seeing now. Airports, we're hearing 3, 4, 5-hour delays, cancellations left and right. We're hearing SNAP benefits. There's a lot of issues right now. People not getting paid this month. They're trying to see if they can get at least half the benefits out. And we're hearing that it could even be delayed weeks, if not months. And in addition to that, if you collect Social Security, they're saying that the COLA and what's going on with that is not enough either. Parts of Social Security Administration shut down. Your checks still going out. But there's a proposal to enhance those checks. We're going to be covering that here in just a second as well. But let's take a look at some more video footage.
Will the government open this upcoming week? This is getting seriously impacting the U.S. economy. What's your take?
I think it's likely to open Wednesday or Thursday of this week. The Democrats will wait until after Election Day because they think a shutdown is good for energizing the crazies in their party. But I think it'll be either late this week or early next week.
Are you going to have to give on the Obamacare subsidies?
No, the Democrats will collapse entirely.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz telling Maria Sunday he expects the Democrats to reopen the government after tomorrow's elections. If the doors stay closed in Washington for another day, this would now tie for the longest shutdown in history. President Trump is still calling on Senate Republicans to end the 60-vote filibuster rule, pass the clean funding bill with a simple majority. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is maintaining he will not negotiate during the shutdown and supports keeping the filibuster in place to block future Democratic legislation if they regain control of the upper chamber. Joining me now, Louisiana Congressman and House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. Congressman, good morning to you. Here we go again, day 34. You did recently unveil some possible GOP priorities for a deal on health care.
We're heading into some really difficult times, and people feel it.
The world is changing so fast.
What are they?
Well, Cheryl, it's first good to be with you. And, you know, if you go back before the reconciliation bill, Republicans have been working on a number of really smart, proven ideas, all focused on lowering health care premiums. Of course, if you look at what the Democrats have done, Obamacare is the law of the land, and it's all Democrat policy. And it's been raising premiums, 80% increase in premiums for families under Obamacare. And that's even after they've masked it with hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies to insurance companies. So clearly that's failed. What we want to do is do things that can actually lower premiums for families. We had a provision called cost sharing reductions in the reconciliation bill. It passed the House. It was scored by the CBO to lower premiums by 11% on families. You would get 11% lower premium in your renewal if you're a family under our bill. Democrats are the ones who went and fought it in the Senate. They had it removed in the Senate. So Democrats have never cared about lowering premiums. But those good ideas are still out there. PBM reform is something we had passed last year. We have other ideas too, you know, pooling together health savings accounts, small businesses pooling together to lower premiums. Again, every time we've come together, all of our committees of jurisdiction, we've put ideas on the table that focus on lowering premiums, and Democrats have never wanted to be a part of that conversation, unfortunately.
It's going to be interesting to see, though, how different senators or members of the House like yourselves that are going to approach these negotiations, if indeed when the government reopens, we hope very soon, because a lot of these major blue cities across the country have used the Obamacare subsidies and that federal funding to offset their own budget problems. I point to Chicago, the city of Chicago. So how do you stop that? Because at the end of the day, and we go back to what the American people asked for, which was fiscal responsibility in Washington, that you stop the bailout. Obamacare was never supposed to cost the federal taxpayer what it has ended up costing all these years later. I mean, how do you even come to terms on this?
Remember, Cheryl, they named it the Affordable Care Act. You should always watch when Democrats name something. You know, the Inflation Reduction Act, remember that under Biden? Inflation Reduction Act dramatically increased inflation. The Affordable Care Act is unaffordable health care for families. And by the way, it's broken up the doctor-patient relationship. So all these states that want more bailouts, insurance companies that are seeing record profits and want more bailouts. Interesting that the Democrat Party is the one fighting to get those bailouts to those insurance companies while families pay more in premiums. Republicans are fighting for lower premiums and to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs. Let's not forget that. There's hundreds of billions in waste, fraud, and abuse. Just the tax credits alone, the estimates are 40% of the people that have them don't even know they have them because you can get registered through very deceptive schemes. You don't even have a co-payment for people that are making $300,000, $400,000 a year. And so some of these insurance companies are registering. They don't know they have a policy, so you never file a claim. It's a really good deal for an insurance company. We've got to end this madness. You wonder why the country is going broke, and you wonder why we have so much debt. We're going to get this under control.
Well, I mean, ending the shutdown first and foremost, Congressman, and that's what I wanted to ask you. I mean, the issue of SNAP payments has become front and center. You got 40 million Americans that are affected by this. That you've got 13,000 air traffic controllers that are going unpaid. You've got major airlines in this country now trying to figure out how to subsidize air traffic control, TSA workers, etc. Because they know that they need the airports to operate, if you will. I mean, doesn't this get to a breaking point this week?
I think it does. And look, this shutdown by Democrats have caused already dramatic pain to real families, and it's going to get worse. You know, you see the SNAP benefits. That's 42 million people that are going to be going without food because Democrats are just angry at the election of Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump is delivering on all the things he said he would do. The far left has gotten even more nutty. You look, they're about to elect Mondami as the mayor of New York City, an avowed socialist Marxist. That's where their party is going, and that's who Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are trying to appease. They don't care about the American people. They've said they know they're inflicting suffering on families. Democrats have said that openly, and they said they don't care. They just want leverage. They can't say what they want leverage for. That's really the worst part of this. They're hurting families knowingly, and Democrats still want to keep this going. I don't think it's sustainable because the American people have figured it out. They're disgusted by it. The unions, more and more every day, every union in America is saying, Democrats, end this madness, end the shutdown, and then go negotiate with Republicans on things you disagree on. But stop holding the American people hostage in the meantime.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up, with that election, again, issue that, what Senator Cruz says, after the election, you watch that there's going to be movement. 8.3% of the budget of New York City is federal funding. So that's why this mayor's race is being watched so closely. There is a major issue this week for President Trump's trade agenda. I want to ask you about this. The Supreme Court is going to be hearing oral arguments Wednesday over the president's emergency tariff authority. Now, he confirms he's not going to attend that hearing, Congressman. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you expect to hear from SCOTUS on Wednesday?
How many sales calls could you book if you sent 50,000 cold emails per month? My man Alex booked 2.
Well, whether or not the president is going to be allowed under the Supreme Court, we can't predict. It's, everybody that tries to predict the Supreme Court, they're about right maybe 50% of the time on a good day. I think if you look at what the president has done with tariffs, it's helped America get better deals overall and be treated fairly. I mean, there are a lot of countries, friend and foe alike, who have not treated America fairly in trade deals. China's been the worst offender because they manipulate their currency. They do a lot of other things, steal intellectual property. But even our friendly nations have had the same kind of problems. And so what President Trump has done with tariffs so far is open up markets. A lot more American goods are available now in other countries because of these tariffs. And then we're ultimately getting to a stabilized, I think, level where you're seeing, look at Asia. I mean, it wasn't just China. China was massive, not only for what it meant for critical minerals, what it meant for our farmers, for soybeans, the fentanyl agreement. But there were other Asian nations, too, that he got deals with. And he's working on European deals to get better deals, Canada, Mexico. So this president doesn't rest. He's amazing at how much he delivers for the American people. Oh, and by the way, he's working on global peace in the Middle East and in Ukraine and Russia. That's what President Trump does. He delivers on what he said he would do. And sadly, the left is going nuts because of that. They don't want to celebrate success for America. And the rest of the country is watching in disbelief at the meltdown of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, no.
There you have it, you guys. The meltdown of the Democrat Party. And do you appreciate Donald Trump and some of the things that he mentioned that he says that he has done? Steve Scalise, House Majority Leader, coming out and saying that as well. Let me know your thoughts. If you appreciate Donald Trump, again, drop a 47 in the comments. If you think no, you are not happy with the way things are unfolding with Donald Trump as the President of the United States, put no in the comments. And if you haven't done so yet, take a second, hit that like button for me. But as I mentioned, there is a lot going on right now as we are about to break a record with the government shutdown. This is going to be the longest shutdown ever. As of tomorrow, it will be tied for the longest, 34 days. Tomorrow, it will be 35. Then after that, we're going to see where we go. But take a look. This is the live feed right now. It says government shutdown live updates. As Thune says he's optimistic about ending the impasse this week. They think they're going to get it done this week, and they need to get something done here. Because take a look. So the breaking news is somebody believes that we're going to get this done. Houston Airport security wait time is 3 hours. That's just to get through the security checkpoint. Take a look at this. I shared with you the video footage. We are also hearing brace for more air travel delays. Millions are going to be impacted by this as the shutdown is dragging on. And as I shared with you earlier, we're hearing that they are attempting to do something here with the SNAP, get the benefits out. Take a look. Trump administration says that it will provide partial November SNAP benefits. And also take a look at this. Now, if you're on Social Security, here's an update coming out for you. There is currently legislation being provided that would increase the benefits by $200 per month for 6 months. If you like the sound of that, if you are on Social Security, put yes in the comments. If you don't like the sound of that, put no. But you can see here, take a look. This coming out October 30th, Senate Democrats are proposing an increase for VA and Social Security benefits of $200 a month for the next 6 months. And here's another one coming out. Proposed $200 monthly boost for Social Security is being debated in Congress. They're saying what is being provided right now is simply not enough. Let's cover this as well, as we're hearing that there are just so many things that are falling short right now. They're saying that they need some additional help. Social Security Administration announced a 2.8 cost of living adjustment for 2026. Some Democratic senators say they believe that the increase won't be enough to help beneficiaries cope with the rising costs. On Thursday of last week, a group of lawmakers, this upcoming Thursday, a group of lawmakers will propose a bill to increase benefits by $200 a month for the next 6 months. So I will keep you up to date on that. We're going to see what they do with that. So hopefully they'll have the government open by then, so that way we can actually get some progress on legislation. Hard to do anything with the government shut down right now. So to help Social Security and Veteran Affairs beneficiaries cope with higher prices, a group of Democratic senators, they are proposing to increase the benefits by $200 a month for the next 6 months. You can see it right here. Now, this legislation, this bill is called the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act. It is backed by Democratic senators, including Mark Kelly of Arizona, Alex Padilla of California, Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, Angela Alsobrooks, and Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Tina Smith of Minnesota, Kirsten Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer of New York, and Ron Wyden of Oregon, and Peter Welch of Vermont. Now, the leaders plan to introduce the proposal on Thursday morning, so this week, according to Warren's spokesperson. An extra $200 per month emergency increase would boost benefit payments through July of 2026, according to the senator's proposal. The benefit boost would apply to individuals receiving benefits from Social Security, SSI, railroad retirement, veteran disability compensation, and veteran pensions. So if you are included in those, you're on SSI, railroad, Social Security, veterans disability compensation, or veterans pensions, you can expect a $200 per month increase across the board. And again, if you like the sound of that, put yes. If no, put no. We're hearing this is about to be presented in Congress. The proposal follows the Social Security Administration's Friday announcement of a 2.8 cost of living adjustment for 2026. The annual adjustment is intended to help Social Security and supplemental security income benefits maintain their buying power. The 2.8% increase will add about $56 per month to Social Security retirement benefits on average starting in January, according to the Social Security Administration. Almost 71 million Social Security beneficiaries will see the 2026 cost of living adjustment reflected in their payments starting in January, according to the Social Security Administration, while nearly 7.5 million supplemental security income beneficiaries will see the benefits boost starting in late December. An emergency lifeline for seniors. This adjustment for 2026 is not enough for seniors who face skyrocketing costs when it comes to groceries, healthcare, utilities, Warren wrote on her October 24th social media post. In a statement, Warren called the bill to provide an extra $200 per month to beneficiaries, an emergency lifeline for seniors struggling to afford Trump's tariffs and rising inflation. Schumer, in a separate statement, said the Social Security COLA is simply not reflective of the current reality for seniors as they see their bank accounts beginning to shrink. Now, the latest Consumer Price Index data shows inflation increased at an annual rate of 3% in September, which was lower than expectations. Now, while that rate is above 2%, the target that the Federal Reserve has set, inflation is easing in some areas, according to the data. Price levels from the 2025 tariffs are expected to rise 1.3%, according to an October 17th analysis by Yale's Budget Lab, prompting an average household income loss of $1,800 in 2025. Now, in 2026, retirees may face higher premiums for Medicare Part B, as I mentioned. Again, check out my friends over at Chapter to help you with that. Those monthly premium payments are typically deducted directly from your Social Security checks, and therefore affect how much the cost of living adjustment beneficiaries may see. The projected standard Medicare Part B premium for 2026 is $206.50 per month, according to the projections from Medicare trustees. That would increase a $21.50 increase. That would be a $21.50 increase from the $185 standard premium rate in place for 2025. Now on Monday, another group of Democratic lawmakers proposed a bill boosting benefits and COLAs for seniors. That calls for basing the annual cost of living adjustment on the CPIE, Consumer Price Index for the Elderly, a research index that tracks the spending patterns of Americans ages 62 and over. Social Security's annual COLA adjustments are currently based on a subset of consumer price indexes, the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, which is the CPIW, which tracks price changes for goods and services bought by certain workers. Changing the Social Security COLA to be indexed by the CPIE would increase the future adjustments by about 0.2 percentage points, Social Security's chief actuary has estimated, according to research from the Bipartisan Policy Center. That change would also increase the program's long-term shortfall by an estimated 11%, according to the estimate. The senator's proposal to add $200 per month to Social Security payments included retirement, disability, SSI benefits. That would cost approximately $90 billion and advance Social Security's trust fund insolvency dates by about 2 months, according to Emerson Sprick, director of the Retirement and Labor Policy at Bipartisan Policy Center. That estimate does not include the increases to railroad retirement or veteran benefits. The Congressional Budget Office has not scored the proposal yet. So there you have it. And again, let me know, should they increase Social Security across the board by $200 per month? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But what we're hearing is that the cost of living adjustment for Social Security, they're saying it's simply not enough. And they're also saying SNAP benefits right now, there's major concern. Airports right now, major delays. We're seeing it pop up all over. We're going to see where we go from here, and I'll continue to keep you up to date. And again, if you want to make sure that you've got the best coverage for Medicare, as we're hearing, this is going to be pretty incredible impacts that are going to be coming because of that Part B premium. Go ahead and check out my friends over at Chapter. I'll pop them up on the screen right here. Free Medicare help. You can call the number at 984-375-0879. Just a 20-minute call to a real person. They'll be able to go over what you got. If you got the best plan for you, they'll say, you got it, you're good, you're done. But if you're like several other thousands of viewers on my channel and you don't have the best coverage because you've been led astray, if you suspect that you are not getting the right coverage, you're probably right. Give them a call, trust your gut, and see if they can help you out. On average, they've helped viewers on my channel save $1,100 a year when they go over the different options that are available to them. So check them out if you're interested. Thank you to Chapter making that available. And you guys, we're going to be seeing where we go from here. Government shutdown is dragging on, and in 24 hours, we're going to be tied for the longest in American history. And in 48 hours, it will become the longest shutdown in history. And they're saying expect some major impacts if we don't change course here soon. Let me know your thoughts. Is this about to be the #1 shutdown in American history? If so, put a 1 in the comments. If you think no, it's going to stop, put a 2. Let me know your thoughts down below. But that's the latest, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date, and I'll keep you up to speed wherever we go from here. That is the latest. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.